Hey Mel, okay, we're back to your table. This is the main top, the one that sits on top of the two leaves. And if you remember, the cushion strips there were loose on the edges, and originally they had used hide glue. And it comes time to put it back down. Well, I don't want to use hide glue, but what I am going to use is hot melt glue, which is very fine. It'll work good. And as I said, I already got the other ones glued down. I just left this strip here to show you how it goes. Basically, the glue gets put on, then you use a J-roller to roll the fabric down so it stays nice and flat. If you look over there at the other ones, you can see where it's flat along the tabletop. So I'm going to do that right now so you can see that. And then the next step, basically you just raise it up. But I don't do it all at one stretch because you got to catch it before the glue has a chance to cool. And you can see that it's nice and tight there. It's not flopping up. Got a little piece there. I don't know what material this is. It's some kind of a felt type of stuff. I was going to replace it, but since I don't know what it is or where they got it, and there's really nothing wrong with it other than just being dirty, but it's no sense in taking away from the antiquity of the table by putting new stuff down. Okay, we got another problem that I have to cure, and I'll show you that here in just a second. This was the original pin that was in the underside of the table, and it went in those holes that registered the top so that it wouldn't slide when you pulled the leaves out. Okay, so that's the guy, and it looks to me like this one had been replaced, and where the other one went to, I have no idea, but the glue buildup in the bottom of it was tremendous, and it flops around in the hole, and I'm thinking that whatever the original plug was fell out, came out, whatever, and then whoever did this one, because this is an entirely different species. This is oak, down here is mahogany, and I have no idea what this is. It's all sort of weird. It's just hard to, it's not something I can put a finger on because it's not walnut that I can see. But anyway, I got to turn new pins, and I'll show you that in just a second. But what I did was I made a dowel. I turned a dowel to fit this hole after I cleaned the glue out from down in here. And now I'm going to turn a pin that looks like this, except for the fact that the bottom end here will fit this hole and not wobble around like that. And I'll show you that in just a bit. Alright, here we are at the lathe, and remember I showed you the pin that was in there. Well, this is the new one or one of the pair that I turned the other day, and I'm just now getting around to turning these down. Both are cut, they're cut to the same length, except the diameter of this is smaller than what the hole is on the bottom of the table. And that's just a center hole for when I was turning this dowel in a consistent diameter. And this little tenon here will fit in the chuck. And right now I need to find the center of this end here so that I can get that center on this point of the tailstock. So I use this little tool I made. It's a center finder. Basically you just, whether it works on circles or squares, it doesn't matter. And you put the piece in there that you want to center, draw a line, and then turn it. It doesn't take but just one little tiny turn, but because it's on a corner, and then this thing is exactly in the center, so that leaves a center mark. You can see it there. And then I take a center punch like this one, and a hammer, and I drive that center punch in that union of the two marks there, and that hole there is what goes on this point. Okay, got the hole punched. Now I chuck it I put it in the chuck, tighten, because this is a 3-jaw chuck, so it's exactly in the center. So when I tighten it up, it's all 3 jaws tighten up around that tenon at the same time. And then I just advance the tailstock up, tighten it back here. You can't see it in the picture, but I'm tightening the bolt that keeps the tailstock from moving backwards as I advance that quill. Alright, so now I just tighten this up. I don't know if you can see it advancing in there, but I have to be standing here. I don't know if I can put the camera behind me if you'll see any better, but I don't think I will, because you'll be able to see it. And so now we're tight. Excuse me. And this is just called a gouge chisel, the shape of it. It looks like a U, sort of. There are many different ones. So I spin up the lathe, and I want to make it look like that when I'm done. DC motor on this, so the controller is like a dimmer switch sort of, and I can spin it up pretty darn fast. This is oak, which is the same material that the old replacement is, so I'm just duplicating that. Alright, so I'm up to speed, and so I want this end to be the tapered end, so I just start out. Once in a while I stop. This is not the way I do it just for this. I mean, I do it this way for everything. But I stop, or I stop turning, and I hold it up there to make sure I'm not getting silly, and it looks like I got a bit more to go. That's it. And now the only thing left to do is to smooth it down with a scraper. And the scraper is basically a chisel looking thing, but it's sharp, and it makes it smooth. Excuse me again. And the final thing is to take the sandpaper and run over it. Ow! Caught my thumb in the jaw. That rarely happens. to round over that end so it's not flat. And to do that with what's called a parting tool. It looks like a double bladed, well, double ground, but it's on an angle. And put a piece of sandpaper on that. And it's done. We'll show you when it goes back together in the table. All right, we're back at the table. There's the pin that I just turned. The other one is exactly like this one. And if I hold this one up over the top of that one, you can see that the profile is pretty darn close. The reason it's fatter here is because these guys, whoever did this pin, I think this was carved out by hand, is what I think, because it's rough as a cob. But this shoulder here is what fits. I'm trying to see what I'm doing and looking at it. It fits the shoulder of this tenon fits on the flat part of the table, where this one, I believe, should have had it. I don't know. It's hard to tell. As I said, I think this was a replacement. But this pin here, if I stick that in front of the other one, you can see that the top part there is the same as the other fella, this one, and they're both the same length. And if I take it over here to the table, or the base, remember the object of these pins is to keep that big top from moving as the leaves are drawn away. And so this would be the underside of the table, and then this part here would be this thickness of this wood, and the tapered part is just what allows it to slide down into the table. So we're pretty darn good, I think. And we'll, because remember the other leaves are sitting up here as well. So I think that's gonna be just about good. All right, I'll pick this up when I got something else to show you.